So today I'm reviewing the Apple Watch Ultra. I've been using this thing for over a week now, and look, I love this thing, but the one bone I have to pick is the marketing towards this watch. A lot of reviews, even Apple's marketing, is really pushing this watch towards the outdoor enthusiast. Someone who's running up mountains, trying to chase down goats, fight sharks, the list goes on. But why can't this watch be for a normal dude like me, or even you who's watching this video? I personally like this watch over the other Apple Watches for two specific reasons. One, bigger display and better battery life. But here's the cool thing about this watch. That extra day or 2 days that I get from this thing makes me happy. Why can't that just be it? I've been more excited about this watch than all the other Apple products they announced at the last event. You will have some issues with it. If you're coming from an older Apple Watch, some chargers won't work with this watch. Like I have the Nomad Base 1 Max, and it's a charger that is sitting in portrait mode basically. I can't place the watch down, right? Because of this little bump over here. It's too big, it sticks out. So the only way I can place it to charge is the opposite way. Whereas with the Apple Watch Series 8 or Series 7 or any of the previous Apple Watches, it doesn't matter which way I place the watch, it would charge perfectly. So keep that in mind when you're buying this thing. You might need to buy a new charger to go with it. Now, there's a lot of people who don't like the design of this watch, but personally, I think it looks absolutely awesome. It looks like a true gadget. It has these big chunky buttons on it. There's different accent colors. You have a big speaker grill. You have really cool wrist straps. Even the bottom of the watch looks really, really cool. I think it looks great, okay? And it is a big watch. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a big watch. And for some individuals, if you have a really tiny wrist, it might look a bit comical. But for me, it actually suits my arm perfectly. Like, look, I got 30-inch biceps, okay? No, I don't. I don't have 30-inch biceps. But I have, bigger than average biceps, okay? So like, when I have this watch on my forearm over here, because my arms in general are very long. Like, I have a long reach. So when my arm goes on my forearm, which is a lot skinnier than my bicep, it basically evens things out. So it looks good on me. Now, it's kind of deceiving because you'd think with a watch that was this big, it would actually feel really heavy. Even though it's 60 grams, it's only 20 grams heavier than the Apple Watch Series 8. And you do feel a difference if you take this off your wrist and put this on, but after like 2-3 hours, you don't notice the weight anymore. Now, if you want to get an idea of how this looks compared to other watches, I have the Apple Series 8 over here, and I also have the Huawei watch. This is the new one, the GT3 Pro, right beside the Ultra. And as you can see here, okay, the GT Pro, or GT3 Pro rather, is not as thick, but the width of the design actually looks bigger than the Ultra. So I think a lot of people are blowing the size out of proportion. Now, the first thing I noticed is the durability. Obviously, it has that titanium frame. It feels very chunky. It feels solid. And usually I'm a clumsy guy, right? Like every time I walk through a door, the wrist kind of like hits the door a little bit sometimes. I'm like, oh man, I hope I didn't scratch my watch. And that doesn't happen with this guy. Like I don't have any scratches on the side. And because the display is flat, I'm getting less scratches overall, because the problem with the Series 8 or the Series 2 or any other Apple Watch is that the display kind of blends into the side. So all my scratches usually happen around the edges. And with this guy, that's not happening anymore. Now, when you do touch this display, it feels a lot more like a smartphone because the display itself is super flat. So if you've used your smartphone recently, you'll kind of have an idea of how this feels on your wrist. You don't get that secure fit around the arm like you did with the Series 8 just because it's so flat. But again, you get used to it after a couple of hours. I do like the bands they came out with though. This is their Trail band. It really reminds me of the nylon bands they sell in terms of how it feels. I can't wear the silicone bands. They bother me. Like I'll wear them for a workout, but I can't wear those silicone bands for the entire day. They just don't feel good on my wrist. But the one thing I don't like about this guy is one of the buttons. Like the crown, nice and clicky. This button over here that gets you to your apps and basically your app drawer, nice and clicky. Action button, a little squishy. Like this big orange action button over here should feel a bit more clicky considering how big it is on the watch. Now, I do prefer it because I work out at the gym 3 to 4 days a week, and usually I'll time my workouts and stuff like that. So being able to just tap on it and then get to your workout immediately is a lot more convenient than going into the app itself and then selecting the workout. Plus, I also run the other days I don't go to the gym, and I only run about 5 to 7 kilometers. I'm not a marathon runner, so I'm probably the worst person to ask about how the running features are on this device, but I feel it's the same as my Series 8. I didn't notice a difference in terms of quality. Now, granted, it does have the new L5 band, which is supposed to help in situations where you do have a lot of buildings and stuff like that. I did watch a very good video by a running YouTuber named Des Fit, and he compared it to the Garmin and a few other watches that professional runners actually use, and it kept up. Like, don't get me wrong, like the GPS wasn't as good in certain situations, like it would go out of range a little bit, then come back in. And he said the reason being is because of the fit. You know, like those other watches grip your wrist better, so it's a bit more accurate. And because this is a bit more square, it's not as accurate. But honestly, one of the biggest upgrades is iOS 16. You know, it doesn't matter if you have a Series 7, Series 8, Series 5. I feel like iOS 16 has been one of the biggest improvements to the Apple Watch in the last few years. From the animations to the way it feels to just how it talks to your phone has been a nice update this year. And even though the Apple Watch Ultra feels exactly like that, there's a couple of things it has that those watches don't, specifically this Wayfinder watch face. You know, like it's a really cool watch face. Like if I move my wrist, you know, the compass moves along with it. Not that I need a compass, but in case I get lost in the desert one day, I have one. But it's also the little quick access to the apps that I regularly use. On the bottom left-hand corner, I have my timers. I use a timer every morning for my French press. And then on the right-hand side, if I want to access my fitness statistics, I click on the fitness icon. As you can see here, Kevin has not been moving. You need to get moving, Kevin. And then if I click on the top left-hand corner, you get a bigger version of the compass. And then on the right-hand side, you have the weather. But even if I'm outdoors, you can like swipe the crown down and then you can use a special night mode. As for battery life, this is what I'll say. I get about 60 hours of use. And to give you an example, I took it off the charger on a Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. I did a run for about 45 minutes, wore it through the entire day, wore it to bed for sleep tracking, woke up the next day, went to the gym, recorded my functional and elliptical training, came home, wore it for the rest of the day, slept with it again on Monday night for more sleep tracking, woke up on Tuesday morning, went for an outdoor run, ran 6 kilometers, came home, wore it for the rest of the day, then I finally took it off before playing hockey at night, because I don't like wearing watches when I play hockey, and I had about 18% battery life. That's about like what, 60 hours of use before needing to charge? This is without even using low power mode or Apple's upcoming optimization mode that's supposed to hit the watch later this fall. Now here's something cool. If you are out and you are filming yourself, okay, or someone's filming you rather, and they're too far from you, and you need to record audio, just use the audio app on your Apple Watch. The recording is actually really good. So right now you're listening to the microphone on the Apple Watch Ultra. If you're ever in a pinch and you need a microphone, your watch is more than capable to record your voice and actually do a pretty good job of making it sound great. Honestly, I love this thing. Ignore all the reviews saying it's great for a runner or a diver or a squirrel chaser. If you just want a bigger display, better battery life, and a durable watch that actually looks like a really cool gadget, then you're gonna like this thing. Now granted, I don't need it. Obviously, I could totally be happy with the Series 8 or Series 7 or Series 6. It does the job that I need it to do, but I just want a bigger display and better battery life. And that's exactly what this Ultra achieves. If you have any more questions about it, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.